Hello everyone and welcome to the Charting Geo YouTube channel with a Scottish opinionated person who watches far too much Premier League football. With 17 games gone across the Premier League, I decided maybe it's a good time for a little look and a little prediction as to who I think is getting relegated to the Championship, who's qualifying for European football, most importantly, who is lifting the title in what could be one of the best races that we've seen in a few seasons anyway. Before we get into it, if you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, it'd be much appreciated. We hit the lovely round number of 1,000 subscribers over the festive period, so thank you very much to those who have joined in so far. Like the videos, commented, shared on social media, it's much appreciated, and don't be a stranger to this one, so get your comments in below with who you think is going down and who you think is winning the title. So let's start with the relegation battle. In 20th place will be no surprise, I'm putting Sheffield United, just 2 points so far. The funny thing is, I actually think the players are still playing for Chris Wilder. I thought at the start of the season, when it was like 5, 6, 7, 8 games, they only had the 1 point. When I watched them, I thought they were perhaps unlucky. I thought they deserved a point here and a point there. Maybe not winning games, but I certainly didn't feel they deserved to lose. They've had some big injuries. I think the Jack O'Connell injury's gone sort of unappreciated, if you like, as the equivalent of Liverpool losing Van Dijk, and there was a massive deal made about that. And rightly so, it's a huge player to lose, but it's the equivalent for Sheffield United losing Jack O'Connell. I'm not saying they're the same players, I'm not comparing ability here and comparing importance to their team. He's just not really had every week Wilder's having to change the players, formations change, but Ben Osborne's played about 3 different positions. Enna Stevens is left wing back, left centre back to left wing back. It's not easy. He's not really got a settled team. He's not got strikers scoring goals. I think they'll pick up a few points between now and the end of the season, obviously, but it's just too much damage has been done already. 2 points. I think they're off ski. Back to the Championship, but what I will say, I hope Sheffield United stick with Wilder. I hope they do what Burnley have done, what Norwich are doing this season. They've stuck with their manager, got relegated, stuck with him, and give him the opportunity to come back up, because I think they were fantastic last season. This year, they've just been a bit unlucky, and they didn't adequately replace Dean Henderson, who was essentially a 40, 50 million pound goalkeeper. Moving on to 19th, I'm putting West Brom in there in a first black mark for Sam Allardyce for getting relegated from the Premier League, and I'm going to enjoy it. When I did a video about Slav getting sacked, I said that I thought the West Brom squad was not good enough, really. Some West Brom fans disagree with me, and I appreciate that. I respect that. They're the ones that watch them every week. They know far more about West Brom than I do. But I'm going to stand by my comment and say I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they've got players good enough. The signing of Robert Snodgrass from West Ham is okay, but it's not inspiring, is it? You need to get in proper quality, and I think he's good for a relegation battle, and I think he'll be good in the Championship. But if that's the standard they're going after, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think Allardyce is going to do it. His football's been awful. He's been shipping goals since he's come back in. It's just not working for him yet. I think he'll come close, but at the minute he's 6 points off 17th, near enough midway through the season, so he's already got a slight uphill battle there, and I think this year West Brom are going back down. 18th, I'm putting Brighton. I think this might be the unpopular one. I'm not the biggest fan of Graham Potter. I appreciate Brighton fans really, really like him. I understand why. But like when people say pretty football watch, I think it's alright football. He's got a young squad there. I think that's good that he's plays a lot of youngsters and stuff. Connolly's in there, Basuma's in there, Ben White's in there. Some young players. Tariq Lamptey is one of my favourite players in the league this year. But there's just something about it. Whenever I watch Brighton, I'm just not that convinced. I don't know what it is. I think this might be the year that they fall through the trap door, because someone's got to. I've done a process of elimination for the third spot between them, Burnley and Fulham, which we'll get onto in a second, and I think this might just be the year that Brighton go. Burnley though, 17, only 9 goals scored. That's what they've got sorted. There's something Sean Dyche needs to do in the January transfer window, is get in a striker, get someone that's just going to get goals. Ashley Barnes, Chris Wood, they often have their purple patches. Barnes in particular a couple of years ago was scoring every second week or something. Those goals have dried up. Jay Rodriguez last year was scoring goals. They've dried up this season. He needs to get the goals scored sorted. However, at the start of the season, they didn't have Tarkowski and Ben Mee. They've got that partnership back now. They're a completely different beast at the back when they've got them in there. And I think that's what's going to keep them up. I think their clean sheets, lack of goals conceded, unlike West Brom. And I think that's going to be enough. Sean Dyche just knows how to drag Burnley out of that relegation battle. Not something I can attribute to Graham Potter. I haven't seen enough. He done it last season. He's done it well and convincingly in the end, but this year I think is going to be slightly different for Brighton, and I'm not sure they're going to do it. Whereas Burnley, I think they've got enough experience in that team, and I think that's what's going to get them out of trouble. In 16th, I'm putting Scott Parker's Fulham. Taking a bit of a gamble. They do have a couple of games in hand, though, to get out of the bottom three. However, when I've watched them recently, I've been reasonably impressed. At the start of the season, I think Parker was struggling with what formation to play, who to play where. He was changing the lineup drastically every week. He went from a back four to a back five, and the players in each system was changing, the midfield was changing, the striker was changing. But now it's a little bit more settled. He seems to have his preferred players playing in the right positions. I think he's got some big players. I think Anglesey look quality every time I've seen him. I think Lookman has got this match-winning attributes to him as well. If you can get the best out of Lookman, I think he's worth goals, which equates to points at the end of the season. And I think Fulham will stay up. I think the performances have been quite good. I don't know what's happened to Mitrovic recently. I say I don't know what happened. I've watched him. He's not very good. He's just not the player he was last season. So if Parker can make one or two clever signings in the transfer window, just enough to get a few players in, I think they'll be all right, Fulham, actually. So I'm putting them in 16. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip to 7th place in the Premier League because no one's interested in who's finishing 14th or 10th. However, I'll put the final league table, the predicted league table, up at the very end. So if I'm missing your team, it's in there somewhere. In 7th, I think I'm going to put Aston Villa. I debated between Villa and Southampton, West Ham and Everton, actually. I mean, there's 4 teams. It's not like I'm 50-50. I'm covering all bases here. I'm going to go for Villa. I'm impressed by them. I think they've got a top keeper, and the difference is I think they've got one of the best players in the league in Jack Grealish. He's someone that really can. I talk about Lookman might win games. Jack Grealish does win games on his own. I think he's just unbelievable. I think when you look at Villa, they just fit. They've got a really good right back, a decent enough left back, good centre back, a good defensive midfielder, really good centre midfielders, good attacking midfielders, a really good striker, and they all fit the way that Dean Smith wants to play. And I've been very impressed by them. When I watched them, I've been impressed. I'm going to put them in at 7, and it would be a fantastic season for them. And if they can replicate what they've done in this summer's transfer window in the coming summer, they'd have a really good squad going forward next season. Chelsea, I'm going to put in 6. It's not working for Frank Lampard, is it? A lot of scrutiny. He's under a lot of pressure. I do think they'll stick with him. I think they'll give Lampard a bit more time unless it's necessary to pull the trigger. I think they'll get better. I think they will get better, but not quite Champions League better. The other ones in front of him sort of pick themselves a little bit, bar Leicester. I think he's got to do something with Kai Havertz. Whenever I watched him, he's playing on the right. Then I don't know what he. I don't think. I'm not convinced Lampard knows what to do with Kai Havertz. His position doesn't really exist at Chelsea, where he was playing for Leverkusen in almost like a number 10 role or a free role at times. Sometimes he played as like a false 9, but when he played in that central role, Lampard doesn't have that. He sort of plays like a defensive midfielder, 2 centre midfielders, and a front 3, a bit like Liverpool does. So where's Kai Havertz going to go? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure Lampard knows. He's got to get a tune out of him, and he's got to get a tune out of Timo Werner as well. That's not been working, and if he does, he'll get points. I think while we can hit him with those 2 signs, I think Ziyech looks really good. I think he's done well to put Ziyech. He's just put him in the position he played for Ajax, really, but he does look good. Reece James, I think, has turned out to be one of the best right backs in the league. There's lots of good things about Chelsea this season. And it's become fashionable to criticise him as it has another club I'll get onto in a second. But I think they'll do okay. 6 isn't good. But you have to allow these players that have come from different leagues to just get used to the Premier League. 5th place, I'm putting Leicester City. I like them. I really like Leicester. I've always been a fan of Brendan Rodgers. He's one of the managers I'd have loved to have had at West Ham when he was up at Celtic. I'd have loved to have brought him back down to West Ham. He's got James Maddison in that. But the most impressive thing about Leicester, where they currently are, with all the injuries they've had, Liverpool got all this headlines about how they've got decimated squad, they're missing their defence and stuff. But at one point, Leicester would be missing the likes of Pereira, Ndidi, Soyuncu, James Maddison. They've been missing like half their first 11, and it's just gone, I think, unnoticed. I think there's a few players really stepped up this year. I think Mendy's improved. I think Dennis Pratt's improved a lot. Harvey Barnes is one of my favourite players. I've liked him when I seen him at West Brom, and I think this season he's really stepped up a gear as well, and I think he's an outsider for making the England Euros squad, actually. He's got the ability. He's a bit raw at times, but he's consistent. Every week he plays the same, which is good. I think Leicester have got a lot going for it. And when I put them in 5th, I do it with almost like a heavy heart. I think they'll be closer to Liverpool than what, say, Villa are to Leicester. And that gives away as to who I'm putting in 4th. And perhaps surprising, I'm going to put Liverpool in there. I I don't know. When I've watched them this last few weeks, they're just missing something. They're missing a few big players. We know that. They're missing Gomez. They're missing Van Dijk. And then they're missing Fabinho to some extent. Because while he's playing centre-back, they're missing him out of the midfield. I think Thiago is just world class. Whenever I watch them, he's just head and shoulders the best player on the pitch at times. It's ridiculous how good he is. I think Trent's having a bit of a quiet season for his standards. And they're missing Jota now. But I don't know, they're just not clicking as what they once were. And that's not meant to be an insult to Liverpool. They're still good. They're still going to have a title challenge. They're sitting top of the league as I record this video. But I don't know. I just think this year they're just going to not do quite as well. In third place, I'm going to put Manchester United because there's just something about them. I don't know what it is. And always had all this stick, always had all this criticism. Yet when you look at where they are in the league, it's not that bad, is it? But I think what will work in their favour is not being in the Champions League. I actually think not playing in the Champions League, getting knocked out of that group stage, will actually be a blessing to Man United this season. It might not seem like it. The guy in charge of the money is scratching his head at what to do. I understand that. As a Man United fan, you're furious to go out of the Champions League. That's what it's about. I understand that. But I think as the league goes on, they can actually have a reasonable title challenge. I think actually one of the reasons Man United will do well in the league now is because they don't have that Champions League distraction. They don't have some players playing 2 games a week at some points of the season. And I think they'll do okay. Bruno Fernandes is one of the best players in the league. And I know he gets this stick with all this penalty stuff and that, and I get it. But, you don't get assists from scoring pens and stuff, do you? But he's still top for assists. World class player, and they've just got a fantastic team. Really, he's not quite good enough. Third is not good enough for Man United. Fourth isn't good enough for Liverpool. I mean, they're probably not going to finish third and fourth. Liverpool will win the league, and Man U will finish 7th now, and I'll look stupid. But so be it. In second place, I'm going to put Spurs, which means Man City is going down to win the title. But for Tottenham, I actually thought a couple of weeks ago, I thought Spurs would go on and win the league. But I've watched a couple of games since then. I don't know. I think actually Mourinho's defensive style is going to shoot him in the foot sometimes because they go a goal up and sit back. And there's been a couple of games that's caught them out a little bit. They've almost scored too early because I can't remember what game it was. They scored in like the 4th minute, and then it was almost like, all right, we'll keep going for the next 10, 15. It's like, right, we'll just defend for 17. I thought was it Southampton? I think it was, because they scored an equaliser against them quite late on. It was Crystal Palace. Sorry, it was Crystal Palace. First half, all Tottenham. Went in with a deserved lead. Coming in the second half, just sat back and then let Palace were all over them and got deserved equaliser. And I thought that's where Mourinho's style will sometimes come back to haunt him. It will win him points, but I just think it might cost him a handful, and come the end of the season, that could be crucial. But I've been very impressed by them, very organised, very disciplined. Kane's playing world class football, Son's playing world class football, Højbjerg's probably the signing of the season so far. There's a lot to like out of Tottenham. Manchester City to win the title. A few weeks ago when I thought Tottenham would win it, I thought Man City were lacking a little something. I didn't know what it was. When I watched them, they just looked a bit bleh. What I think about Liverpool right now. But also their biggest weakness over the last couple of seasons has been their defence. They've sorted that now. Somehow, Laporte, Man City's best defender last season, is no longer part of the defence. It's Diaz and Stones. But what a partnership they're making. I think they've been absolutely fantastic at the back. They've only conceded 13 goals this season in the Premier League. Man City have conceded the least goals in the Premier League. And while you might think, well, that's hardly a surprise. Well, it is really. When you consider last season, Liverpool barely conceded. Sheffield United were much better defensively than Manchester City. And the fact that they've sorted that back 4 out is why I think they're going to win the title. Because defence, clean sheets, they win you titles. Goals win you games, clean sheets win you titles. And I think that's why Man City are going to go on and do it. I've watched them a bit now. Kevin De Bruyne is still the best player in the league. Still my favourite player in the league. I think he's... Well, everybody does. Everybody knows he's unbelievable. But they're winning games now, City, and they're winning with a little bit of swagger, and that's without a proper striker sticking the ball in the back of the net. They've also had a few injuries of their own as well, but they've sorted the defence out, and I think that's going to be the difference come the end of the season, and why I am putting Manchester City to win the Premier League title. Anyway, that's it from me. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, but also I want to see your comments in the description below. I'm going to put the full table on your screen in just a minute as well, so you can see who finished between 7th and 16th. All the other clubs are in there. Wolves, Palace, Newcastle, and they're all in there. Subscribe if you haven't already to Tartan Geo. Like I said, get your comments below. I will have a read of them all and I'll be replying to everybody. There you go, that's it. I'll be back in May to have a look at this video to see how I got on. Until then, catch you in a bit.